So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Brianna. Brianna Randall is the Executive Director of the Career and Internship Center at UW. She's really kind of the steward for LinkedIn Learning here at UW. So I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself, tell you a little bit more about herself, and then pass it off to our LinkedIn partners today. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Anna, and thanks everyone for joining us today. As Anna said, I'm Brianna, and I am with the Career and Internship Center on campus. And we serve students, but we were able to almost exactly a year ago secure a 3-year contract for LinkedIn Learning. So I serve as the campus point person, and LinkedIn Learning is available to students, staff, faculty, from all 3 campuses. And that's why we wanted to talk to staff today about it. It is provided by the Student Tech Fee Committee, but everybody with the UW Net ID is able to access it. And I just wanted to point out that our website, the link to get to it is just linkedinlearning.uw.edu. And that will take you to our site. This purple button will allow you to log in. There's informational resources about what it is, uses, if you want to be an admin. Maybe you're a faculty member and you want to embed it and integrate it with Canvas. There's instructions there as well. So linkedinlearning.uw.edu. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Devin and Cindy. They are our points of contact with LinkedIn, and they're going to be running the slide deck today, and then we'll all be helping with chat. So if you have questions, feel free to type them in, and we'll try to address them as we go, and also leave time at the end for audio questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Thank you. Cindy's already ahead of it there. Cindy's going to be bringing up the presentation here. We can just go to introductions for us here, Cindy. Great. So my name is Devin Avila. I am the relationship manager from LinkedIn. I work on the LinkedIn Learning team specifically and support all of the UW campuses and the state of Washington specifically for higher education. Really, my role here is to educate, make sure you're successful, get the most out of the investment that the school is investing with LinkedIn Learning, and help educate other folks around campus about what are the best ways to use LinkedIn Learning for their specific demographic of people. And I'll pass it over to Cindy, and we're on a team together.
Hi, everyone. Cindy. I'm excited to be here with you all today. So I am the customer success manager on the UW account. Like Devin said, we partnered together, and my role really is to help with all of the day-to-day questions that come up, and the just helping Brianna with running LinkedIn Learning at such a large campus. So work on marketing and promotion, finding content for you guys. So I'll be walking you guys through the demo portion of how to use LinkedIn Learning shortly.
Great, thanks, Cindy. You can pop over to the next slide. For today's agenda, just a little bit of background about LinkedIn. There might be folks on here that know a ton about LinkedIn. There might be folks that barely use it at all, barely log in. That's okay. I want to give you some context. We'll dive into some details around what is LinkedIn Learning specifically, what are the use cases for staff, what's the value there, and then Cindy will pop into a demo where we can get an understanding of what it's like to create and share content on LinkedIn Learning. What does it really look like? How can you use it? And then some additional resources at the end, and also some question and answer. Like I said, the chat is great. If we start to see kind of a trend in the same type of question, might try to answer those questions kind of in conjunction with each other. So that's the agenda for today. We can just go ahead and move to the next slide. Next one after this. Thank you. So a little bit about LinkedIn. LinkedIn really, the purchase that you have with the campus is for LinkedIn Learning, which is the content that we provide on the course network. But when we think about LinkedIn Learning, we actually think about LinkedIn itself alongside of LinkedIn Learning and what that can do for the individual to make them more successful. As you might know, LinkedIn has a ton of people, 706 million people, 20 million jobs on LinkedIn. We think of LinkedIn like an economic network, right? Data points that will help the individual create economic opportunity for themselves. Really, the 3 big buckets people use LinkedIn for are, one, to stay connected in the professional world, right? We work with people, they move on to different roles, they do different things. You have peers to help you stay connected in kind of a live social place. The next is stay informed on what's going on in your industry through professional news. We have an entire news team at LinkedIn that caters news every day to the audience to help you understand what's going on in your particular industry or industries of concern or interest. And then the third bucket is obviously to help people get hired. LinkedIn is not just a resume board per se. We're actually like a living, breathing social network of your professional network, but there's obviously things there. There's opportunities available for people, and there's opportunities to network into companies. So LinkedIn is really kind of built around those three buckets. So a little bit about LinkedIn is, LinkedIn is we really consider it more like an economic graph, right? We say we have 706 million members, 36 million different types of skills people are advertising on their profiles, 50 million companies, 20 million jobs, 90,000 education providers. Really how this all comes together is you want to think about your profile and the courses you take on LinkedIn Learning. You can actually put those course completions and the skills that you learn right on your profile. And all of those data points are connected through the network, meaning that how recruiters use LinkedIn Learning and how do they use LinkedIn is to actually search specifically, hey, I want somebody that has this many years of experience, who lives in Washington, who knows this particular skill, and they can index those members. So the more you standardize your profile to have a robust profile, you can take that with you throughout your career. So really think of LinkedIn really like an economic network and let the data flow where it's best needed based upon the individual's need. So we'll pop into like what LinkedIn Learning is here. LinkedIn Learning is a course network. It has 16,000 courses. It's mostly an online video modality. We have our learning platform, which you kind of see is in this big gray circle, but it's built on kind of three buckets, which is content from reputable people. We make all of our own content in-house. An engaging learner experience, meaning it's built on top of LinkedIn's social network, so that LinkedIn Learning can work really well. If you decide to sync up your LinkedIn profile to your LinkedIn Learning account when you activate, we'll actually show you specific courses that are relevant to your background, learn from you over time so you can continue to have better courses. And as I discussed, you can put your skills and course completions right on your LinkedIn profile to take that with you, even if you don't have LinkedIn Learning from UW in the future. And then there's a lot of strategic insights that we give back to Brianna and her team, but we can actually supply the staff side as well, meaning, hey, what are the fastest growing skills in the education sector? Do those skills correlate with the skills that I'm learning from my own professional development? We know what's in demand, and so we can help be a better partner. So it's not just, here's a bunch of courses, go have fun. It's, here's a bunch of courses, have fun, but also we think you should learn these topics because that's what this sector is going towards. And as you might know, for folks that are faculty here, we do this for the student side as well, for what employers are saying and what they want and what skills are in demand. So 16,000 courses, 60 new courses a week. 100% of the instructors are experts in their field, meaning that we don't just take the YouTube All-Stars and put them on LinkedIn Learning. These are educators. These are people who have their own companies. They've written books. They're retired professionals. There's a slew of people. And we actually have a lot of like real professors and educators from institutions that make courses on LinkedIn Learning. The majority of our courses are made down in Santa Barbara, California. We have our own studios, our own green screens, our own production team. It's a pretty big facility. And we actually have project managers that work in each bucket of the library, which is divided into business, technical, and creative courses at its kind of highest hierarchy. And those folks understand what's important in those industries, and how they do that is their own industry expertise paired with LinkedIn data telling us what is in demand in the economy to help us dictate which courses that we build. So we strive to always kind of be cutting edge for what employers need at the current time, changing when the skill's changing, which is very frequently at this point. And then for folks that English is not their first language, there's a toggle that's built into each one of the accounts that each person can select the 7 different languages that we offer in our course content. And so we talked a little bit about kind of the social nature of LinkedIn Learning. So I want to give you a little bit more details here. So when you first, if you haven't activated LinkedIn Learning yet, the first time you log in, it's going to ask you, what is your single sign-on, your UW Net ID, sign in. It recognizes that you're allowed to use LinkedIn Learning. The next question we're going to ask you is, would you like to link and connect your LinkedIn profile to your LinkedIn Learning account? If you do, on the right-hand side, you kind of have an easier experience to get back to LinkedIn Learning, meaning if you go to your own personal profile, at the top right, you'll see a little icon that says Learning. It'll take you through the UW Net ID again, and you're back in. So those things will kind of sit on top of each other. You're going to have a much more personalized experience. So instead of kind of seeing a bunch of courses that might not be relevant if you don't connect your profile, we're going to get our best stab at having what's relevant to you and your role in your industry, your years of experience, right inside of LinkedIn Learning. So you'll have LinkedIn Learning, which is separate. It's like a learning platform, and then you have your profile, but they kind of sit on top of each other. There's also some really cool features in a course called Q&A sections, where you can actually ask questions of the author. We're going to be moving to a watch party type environments where a bunch of people can learn and watch a course at the same time and have a conversation. And then you also have the option to watch complete courses right within your LinkedIn profile experience as well, and not even go to LinkedIn Learning. So the example would be, hey, I have a peer who has liked or shared or commented on a course. You see it in your feed, you respect your peer, and you're like, wow, that's a really interesting course. I think I would like to watch a segment of that or save it for later and watch it. So those social features help keep learning front and center, and most importantly, relevant. So we do encourage people to sync their profile. Remember, they do not have to. You do not have to have LinkedIn to use LinkedIn Learning. I would still encourage you to use LinkedIn Learning even without the profile, but the experience is better, and we find that people almost use it twice as much when they do connect their profile. So just a little bit of context on the content. I have a great follow-up piece of material that we can give to the team that has every single content topic we have in very small font. But just to give you kind of a sense of what's here: leadership and management, functional role content, tech and software engineering. So you could really understand how to be a developer or an iPhone developer, for example, right on LinkedIn Learning. Soft skills are a huge emphasis, especially for students right now. Communication, public speaking, difficult conversations, change management, all of those topics. And then health and wellness. And another thing I would bucket with health and wellness is DEI, or we call DIBS, diversity, inclusion, and belonging content. We have a ton of that material on LinkedIn today, LinkedIn Learning today. It's very, very popular for what's going on in the world. So encourage, doesn't matter what you do to enroll, those two buckets are really, really relevant. All right, so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Cindy. And Cindy's going to be running the rest of the presentation, but please ask questions in the chat, and we'll try. I'll keep an eye on it while Cindy talks.
Awesome. Thanks, Devin. Oh, go ahead, Brianna.
I was just wondering if you could address the question that came in, which is, can we sync our profile to LinkedIn Learning if our profile uses a personal email address, even though we're having to use our UW email address to log in through single sign-on to LinkedIn Learning?
Want me to take that, Cindy, or?
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So don't worry about what is your primary email address on your LinkedIn profile. When you go through the sign-on process, the first screen is UW Net ID and password. That lets us know that you're kind of allowed to use a license, right? The next screen is, what is your personal username and password? So if that's a Yahoo email and password to do the profile connection that one time, then you just sign into your LinkedIn credentials at that second screen. So it doesn't matter what you use. And then from then on, what will happen once the connection is made that one time, you come back to engage with LinkedIn Learning, you put in, it's going to ask you, what is your organizational email ID or organizational email? That's your UW email. You type it in, it'll automatically recognize you're connected. It'll bounce you to your single sign-on, Net ID sign-in, and then you're in to LinkedIn Learning again.
Awesome. Thanks, Devin. And just one thing to add, if when you are first activating your account, you don't connect your profile, you can do so later. And I can show you guys where and how to do that in the demo section, but it's definitely not a one-time thing. You can choose to connect or choose to disconnect if you wish at any given time post-activation, just to add that there. So next, we're going to get into how LinkedIn Learning can really support your development and how you guys can use LinkedIn Learning in a more tactical way. So how does LinkedIn Learning support and develop employees, staff, and faculty? So of course, LinkedIn Learning can help you to really be able to adapt to unexpected challenges. So it's probably no surprise that we saw a huge spike in LinkedIn Learning when the pandemic hit. The content that people were watching definitely shifted. It was a lot of how to use Zoom, how to manage remote teams, that sort of thing. You can use LinkedIn Learning to empower employees. So if we have any managers or leaders on this meeting, LinkedIn Learning is a great tool that you can have in your manager leadership toolkit to really empower your teams. And as well, of course, personal development. So Devin mentioned this earlier, but we have a lot of health and wellness content. So we did see that 69% of learning and development professionals said that supporting the mental health and well-being of employees is a new part of their role since COVID-19. And LinkedIn Learning can definitely be a big part in supporting that. Learners are actively engaging with mindfulness and stress management content. So 10 times as many as 10 times learners watched courses on mindfulness and stress management on LinkedIn Learning in April of last year compared to February. Again, probably not a surprise there, but it's really cool to see with data that people were really leaning into LinkedIn Learning as a support for mental health and well-being. We also have a number of pre-built learning paths to help support employee mental health and well-being. So we'll get into this during the demo, but on LinkedIn Learning, we have courses which are made up of a series of videos. And our LinkedIn Learning content team also curates learning paths, which are pre-built playlists essentially that you can watch. They're intended to be watched in sequential order to really help support an end goal. And we have a number of those on the mental health and well-being side as well. So empowering employees, you can use LinkedIn Learning to develop hard and soft skills. You can use LinkedIn Learning for onboarding. So if you have, as a manager or even a teammate, if you have a new teammate or direct report coming onto your team, you can create and curate your own learning path to help them get onboarded. Sometimes, on the management side, you can think, how am I going to fill my new hires' first 2 weeks and make sure they're staying busy and getting a consistent experience as other new hires? And you can really dig in and use LinkedIn Learning for this to take some of that initial pressure off of you. And again, to keep the experience consistent and make sure everyone's kind of coming up to speed on the same content. Performance reviews. So this is a great time to utilize LinkedIn Learning as an employee or as a manager. Prepping as an individual contributor, you can use LinkedIn Learning to prep for your performance review, to prep for the conversation, to feel empowered and ready to go into your performance review and confidently speak about what you have done as an employee. Additionally, on the manager or leader side, you can use the LinkedIn Learning for post-performance review conversations. This is a great opportunity of learning for you. Here's a LinkedIn Learning course to really help better yourself in this particular skill. So lots of functionality there on the performance review side. We also have, so there's admin functionality and then curator functionality, which are very similar, but as a LinkedIn Learning curator, you have the power to create those learning paths and collections. And on the website that Brianna shared earlier, there's information on how to become an admin or a curator. So you guys can go there to find that information. So again, we kind of talked about this, but really taking advantage and leaning into LinkedIn Learning to help you with employee onboarding is a really great way to go. It not only tells new employees about LinkedIn Learning right from the start, but it helps them kind of build a habit and create that culture of learning among your team. So, you know, just one idea or a couple tactical ideas here is, you know, you can send a course or a learning path via email prior to, you know, any internal meetings that this employee might have. You could even record a video of yourself, upload that into LinkedIn Learning, just welcoming this employee, and send it off to them for them to watch within LinkedIn Learning. You can choose courses to directly send to them, put those courses in a learning path or in a collection, and make sure everybody's getting up to speed in a similar way. And then, you know, during onboarding, of course, you can continue to lean into LinkedIn Learning for things that you don't want to spend the time teaching, or that, you know, when people have free time, this is a great way to spend it. And, you know, then the ongoing side of that is keeping the learning habit going by having your, you know, new hire continue to watch courses, encouraging the team as a whole to continue to encourage that employee to watch courses to get them kind of up to speed in that first 30, 60, 90 days. We talked about this a little bit as well, but you know, really using LinkedIn Learning to put people at the center of performance reviews. So preparing for the review process, the areas of opportunity, you can, you know, create a performance plan based on this and recommend content specific to that performance plan, and then use LinkedIn Learning to fill any of those skill gaps. So certificates of completion, we will definitely, I'll point this out when we're getting into the demo shortly, but one really cool feature of LinkedIn Learning is adding certificates of completion to your LinkedIn profile. So you'll see that you can add a course to your LinkedIn profile. It will appear under licenses and certifications, and it kind of functions as a digital portfolio. So it's a really great way to keep track of the courses that you've taken and kind of, you know, show off the extra time that you spent investing in yourself and your learning. And then, of course, you know, personal development. So we have continuing education courses through LinkedIn Learning that you can use. Health and wellness, we've touched on that a couple times, and any passion projects. We have courses on how to play the banjo on LinkedIn Learning, photography, you know, you name it, we probably have something on it. So really using any additional time that you guys have to further your personal development, whether that's you know, to grow your skills in your day-to-day job, or just a personal goal that you might have. And I mentioned the continuing education courses. So we do have a number of Cert prep courses on LinkedIn Learning. There is a website dedicated to this where you can actually click on each of these programs and find the exact courses that are aligned to those. So that's a really great feature of LinkedIn Learning that we always like to highlight, especially to staff and faculty. Well-being, again, we're really driving this one home, but some courses on well-being include managing stress for positive change. That was one of the very highly watched courses over the past year, the Leader's Guide to Mindfulness, and then even something like personal finances or balancing work and life as a work from home parent. So just a couple ideas to show you a little bit more on the well-being side of what we have. Passion projects, we talked about this as well, photography, video editing, drawing. We also have TED Talks on inspiration. So lots of courses. Really cool thing about LinkedIn Learning as well is we have a LinkedIn Learning app. And so you can really take learning with you anywhere you go. I often throw my toddler in her stroller and take the dog out for a walk and put my AirPods in and just listen to a LinkedIn Learning course like I would any sort of, podcast. And you can watch content on the go, which is really great. There's also an audio only feature for the kind of podcast experience if you want to do that as well. So just wanted to make sure everybody knows about that. Perfect. I am going to stop sharing and pop into a demo really quickly. And while I do that, Devin, I've seen a couple chats. Are there any questions we want to address now?
I think, okay.
The one I haven't addressed was from Kelsey. Are the certificate or the cert prep courses free too? And I think the answer is yes, but I'll let Devin chime in.
Yeah, they are. So just to be clear, we don't offer the certification assessment test. That's something you still will have to go to that supporting organization, sign up, pay for it, and pass it. But all the prep coursework is certified by those auditing bodies. So we're basically authorized to offer the prep coursework for those certificates.
We've covered everything else, Cindy.
Perfect.
I
Okay.
was feverishly typing over here, Cindy.
Okay, good. I'll hop back in. So this is my main LinkedIn feed. And so one of the cool things that Devin was talking about when he pointed out the personalized experience is the ease of access from LinkedIn to LinkedIn Learning. So I would just want to show you that experience. So up here, I have this work icon with a couple different tiles. If I click on this, you'll see I have a learning tile right here. I have a ton of LinkedIn products, obviously, since I work here. So for some of you, this learning tile could appear right here, which makes it even easier. But all you need to do at this point is click on learning, and I'm brought right into LinkedIn Learning. So a really seamless user experience, and really helps to keep LinkedIn Learning front of mind as well when I'm just kind of scrolling on my LinkedIn feed. So this is really the main dashboard or main welcome page as a learner on LinkedIn Learning. So a couple of things to point out on this main page. One, I always scroll through this banner. The banner is constantly being updated, and this is always going to be our latest and greatest and most popular content. So you'll be able to see if this is a brand new course and how recently it came out. So creating the environment for productive virtual teams. We keep this banner very, very timely. As you know, most of us or many of us are still working virtually. This is a new course that we came out with a week ago, just to kind of address those who are still facing this dilemma. So again, everything up here is always just really timely. And so I like to point this out. You'll see this course was an already existing course that was recently updated about a week ago on professional networking. Another new course from 6 days ago. So this banner is really helpful just if you're wondering what's kind of the latest on LinkedIn Learning. So if we scroll down a little, we have these two separate sections. So one is the weekly goal. I love this. I set a goal to 30 minutes. I'm a little bit behind, but it's still early in the week, but you can edit this goal and make it fit what your learning goal is. This is a really good way for me to stay accountable to investing in myself and my learning. One thing I also love about this is I get reminders. So on Thursday or Friday, if I still haven't started, reaching my goal or started working towards reaching my goal, I will get a reminder email that you can, of course, turn off at any point, but just kind of saying, hey, jump back in, and here's a great course to check out. So this is a fun thing to do if you're inclined. On the right-hand side, we have 3 separate tabs. All 3 of these tabs will also be found under the My Learning section. And it's pretty straightforward. These are the courses that I have in progress. You'll see the bar for how far along I am. If I were to click on this course, it would take me exactly to where I last left off. Alternatively, I could also click on Show All and look at all 91 in progress courses here. saved, excuse me, these are courses that I have saved and just want to come back to at some point. Similar functionality here. I could click here and view all of those. And the from your org section. So this section is important. This means that the from your org section means that a admin within my organization recommended this content to me. So if you are an administrator and you're recommending content to, maybe you're a faculty member and you're recommending content to your entire class, the content you recommended would appear here. And so this kind of puts it front and center, and it's, I know, okay, I better get in and finish these 2 learning paths because they were recommended from my org. And then down here, again, this is all part of that personalized learning experience that Devin was referring to. So we have live events with experts that are coming up. For those who are interested in that. That's kind of that social learning that we're really trying to lean into right now. Courses that I can continue watching, and then this is where those personalizations really start. So these are courses related to courses that I've saved, courses that I've recently saved, and then top picks for Cindy. And we can kind of continue scrolling down and seeing that these are all really recommended to me because I'm interested in career development. They are recommending career advice from some of the biggest names in business because you're interested in communication. So what LinkedIn Learning has done, and again, Devin mentioned this, is it's taken the information that I said I was interested in learning, as well as my industry that I put on my LinkedIn profile, my job title that I put on LinkedIn profile, and is really serving me up content that is relevant to me. So it makes it a lot easier when I'm going in and I'm trying to find a course to be able to easily find something, because all of this is pretty much aimed at me. Very similar. I always use Netflix, especially when I'm talking to students, as a good comparison. Very similar to how Netflix works. The more you watch on Netflix, the more they're giving you, specific and personalized recommendations. LinkedIn Learning is working the same way. So we'll get into how to actually search for content, but first I'll just show you the My Learning section. Again, you'll see that we have 3 of those same tabs here: the in progress, saved, and from your organization. The additional tabs here is, are my collections, learning history, and skills. So my collections, as a learner on LinkedIn Learning, you can create and curate your own collection. So to do so, it's very simple. You click on create new collection, put in your title, and then a description if you wish, and you are able to start adding content to the collection that you're creating. What's really cool as well is you can share this collection if you'd like among peers. So you have some discoverability features here. All LinkedIn members, these are obviously specific to LinkedIn since that's my organization, but you can also make this only visible to you. You could also copy this and send this off to colleagues or your manager, your team, anybody that you want to share your collection with. So this is a really great way to help your colleagues if you're interested in creating and curating these collections. I'm going to go into learning history because one thing that I really want to share is the sharing to your LinkedIn profile. So these are LinkedIn videos that were uploaded by our organization. So I'm going to go to an actual LinkedIn Learning course, which is right here. So if we click on these 3 dots, you'll see add to your content. So I could add this course to one of my collections, so I have already shared this to my personal LinkedIn profile that I took this. If I hadn't, it would say share on your profile. And that is where it will come up in the screenshot that we shared earlier with under licenses and certifications. And this is just a really great way to further expand, what you have on your LinkedIn profile to show some of your accomplishments. So I highly encourage you to add those to your LinkedIn profile. It's just a really fun way to kind of keep your profile up to date. You could also download a certificate of completion if you feel like you want to. That's an option as well. So we're going to scroll back up to the top and then talk about how to find content. So there's really two options, well, three options. You can obviously find content from your main page. Again, that content that was kind of aimed at you. You can click on browse, and earlier Devin mentioned our three kind of main hierarchies of content are business, creative, and technology. LinkedIn, this down here means this is content that was updated or added, I should say, by my organization. So if we are looking at business, you could search by different topics. You can also, dig into specific business tools that you might use. There's a number of different ways to find content on here. If we scroll down, we can also search by tags of specific content. There's also a higher education section here, which is really helpful. I encourage you guys to check that out. Or you could also look for specific learning paths here as well. So this is if you were just kind of curious and wanted to play around a little bit. If you came on to LinkedIn Learning and you were like, no, I know I'm coming on and I want to read about leadership or learn about leadership, I should say. You can just simply put a very general term in your search box here, and you'll see that this is going to give us over 9,700 results for leadership. That can be a little bit overwhelming. So I highly encourage you guys to utilize the filter results on the left. So we have different ways of finding content, or the different areas of content, I should say. So LinkedIn Learning means that this was content created by LinkedIn Learning. These are some of our partner content, our content partners, and LinkedIn means this was custom content uploaded by someone at my organization. So I'm going to filter this by LinkedIn Learning content only. So that brings us down to 4,300. What's really cool too is you can search by type. So you can say, I think eventually I want to become a leader learning path, but right now I'm really not ready to dig into 9 hours and 7 minutes of content. So I know I want a course. You could say, I am just kind of beginning to explore my leadership and my leadership goals. So I'm going to set this to beginner. And you can see how we've really narrowed down. It was 9,700 and now we're down to 347. So that's really awesome. Another feature I love is time to complete. So I mentioned that I'll, head out with my daughter and dog on a walk, and I'll be gone for 30 minutes. So I want a course that is under 30 minutes. So you'll see here now this has really narrowed it down to 86 results for leadership, and it's looking like becoming an impactful and influential leader. This course might just be what's perfect for me for right now. So this is just one example of how you can really narrow down to find specific content that you're looking for. Another important filter to point out is the continuing education units. We have those courses here, so you can easily filter those courses as well. So I'm going to click this off and this, and I just want to show you guys what I mean by the learning paths. So for those of you who aren't super familiar with LinkedIn Learning courses and how they function, again, courses are made up of a series of videos. So I'll click on this one just to show you guys. It's going to automatically start playing. So let me pause. And so this is what the course page looks like. So it's really cool. This is another feature if you log in with or sign in and connect your LinkedIn account. You can see how many people are currently active in taking this course. You can see the different videos that make up this course. So the videos are really that idea of micro learning. So you'll see that all of these videos are under 3 minutes, pretty consistent for the entire course. So the videos make up the course, and then when it comes to learning paths, courses make up learning paths. And I'll show you guys an example of a learning path next. But what's really cool too is if you scroll down, you can kind of get an overview. So you can find out information about Dr. Shirley Davis. You can even look at her LinkedIn profile here, follow her on LinkedIn, and see the different information. So we know this is 40 minutes. It's a beginner course. It was released October 2019. When courses are updated, this will say updated to the updated date. So there's a lot of really good information here. It'll talk about the different skills that are being covered, some of the learning objectives, any exercise files that the courses come with, you'd be able to see here. You know, certificates you can view here in the continuing education units over here. This is the Q&A feature that Devin was talking about. So you'll see that you can ask specific questions and even pinpoint the exact video and the minute and second time that this person is referring to. And so this is a really cool opportunity to actually connect with this instructor. Some instructors, of course, are more involved and responding quicker than others, but it's also just a really great way. You can see this person kindly answered this question. So a really fun feature to utilize as well. And then up here, we have how many likes this video's gotten. So it's gotten over 5,000 likes. And this is the number of people who have saved this course. So if you clicked on this course and you're like, oh, this looks really cool, I don't have the time to watch it right now, but I do want to come back and watch it. This is where you could save this course and it will appear in your My Learning under saved. And this plus sign is where you could add to your content. So if you have an existing collection, you can say, I want to add this to my active listening collection, and go ahead and add that there, and it will appear there. So that's really the basics of the course functionality page. And then I'll show you what a learning path looks like. So we mentioned that become a leader learning path already. Learning paths, since they're made up of courses, and this is in particular, it's 10 separate courses, you'll see these are very lengthy. Learning paths really have an intention. So this is becoming a leader. Each course in this learning path builds upon the next, and the goal is that once you have finished this learning path, you really feel ready to move from that, you know, informal manager or IC role into a more formal leadership position. So that's the goal of learning paths. You know, they tend to be titled with become a, you know, blank, so that you can see really what the goal is. One of the most fun functionalities of or features of a learning path is the ability to earn a certificate. So for all of the learning paths that were curated by LinkedIn, you have the ability to earn a certificate of completion at the end. And this fun little trophy will be lit up, and you can add that to your LinkedIn profile as well. So that's what a learning path is in comparison to a course or a video. And that's really the basics of how to search for content and find content. Devin, have there been any other questions or any questions that maybe we want to dig a little bit deeper into on the functionality of utilizing LinkedIn Learning?
Brianna's been on it, so a lot of the questions have been answered. But one I thought was interesting, Susan asked, can we choose which certificates to post on our LinkedIn profiles and which ones to leave off? Certainly, at every point when you take a course or learning path, at the end, a pop-up comes up and says, would you like to add this to your profile or not? You could always download a PDF and kind of save it to your computer as well. So you do have the choice on the individual level. I think there might be a question behind the question on that one, meaning that, like, you know, maybe what stuff would we want to put on our profile that maybe, you know, that our employer might see or might not want to see. Remember, everyone in their own personal profile, LinkedIn profile, can go sign into their personal profile. This is outside of LinkedIn Learning. Go up to your little picture at the top right and then go to settings and privacy. And there's a lot of your own personal privacy settings that you can select on your own profile. And we've done a really good job of making that like crystal clear. If you turn this off, this is what you will get and this is what you won't get. And so you're in control of your own privacy. And you can also download your own data from your profile as well. So it's the whole thing, choice, you know, sync your profile, don't sync your profile, what you want people to see. We want people to have their own, you know, their own privacy settings for that. Were you gonna add anything, Cindy?
No, I agree.
Most of the chat has been me just cheerleading, so there haven't been a lot of questions come in.
Okay.
Well, we'll give, you know, we'll give people, if good job, Kelsey, using the little thumbs up. If you want to ask a live question, since we have about 50 or so, if you could just raise your little hand, your virtual hand, and then maybe we could do it that way. Another one came in. Oh, Janelle says Rana's done a great job. That is very true. Well, good. So it doesn't look like we have any last minute questions. Hopefully an action item from today would be log on, activate your LinkedIn Learning account. That just as a bare minimum. And then maybe by the end of the week, take like half of a course or even a full course just to get your feet wet and understanding. And then for your respective departments, we would love if, you know, Brianna does a good job of networking across UW and reaching out to a lot of people. But if there's anything that you can share with your peers in your groups, on your teams, hey, did you know this is available? Even just floating it, did you know this is available, can be really valuable in helping spread the word to staff. And so if I can't see everyone, otherwise I would tell people to raise their hands like in the classroom, but thank you for doing that. And thank you for spending the time today. And I don't know if Brianna and Cindy, if you have anything to add before we hop off, or Anna.
I don't have any other comments, although I just typed my email address and the page where you can log in with your net ID. I'm happy to answer questions, be the point of contact. And if I don't know the answer, Devin and Cindy usually respond pretty promptly to me. So feel free to use me as a point of contact. And just like Devin was saying, the more we can spread the word and the more users we can get, it's good for the future of LinkedIn Learning at the UW campus, but also, I mean, part of why I'm cheerleading is because I do view this as really valuable to all the populations that we have. Students, staff for their own professional development or personal growth, faculty for embedding content into Canvas courses. I really do believe strongly in this resource. So I hope that you all are able to engage with it and enjoy it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. It was really great to learn more about the platform, and especially, you know, I think the whole U is excited to maybe dive in and see what we can do with the health and wellness courses and, you know, helping kind of bridge that to campus as well. As I said earlier, we are recording, so our team will probably take about a week to get this up on our YouTube page. We'll email it out to everyone. Thank you so much, Brianna, for sharing your email, and just both Cindy and Devin for your great demo and all that information. It's been a wonderful hour, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.